Joining us now for more insight into today's show trial, he's senior counsel with the Article 3 Project, Josh Hammer. Josh, you can tell I've got my, what's the old phrase? My dandruff up, my grandma used to say. So you better take it from here before I get myself expelled from the set, because I am so pissed off today about, and I knew this narrative was coming. You did too, Josh. You knew this was what they were going to use this show trial for.
Yeah, I mean, hard to try to build off of that pretty epic opening monologue there, Dan. I mean, you know, I have at least a slightly more nuanced take, and I guess I'll explain it. So look, I mean, David Weiss, the special prosecutor, who, by the way, should not even be the special prosecutor because he is the active sitting U.S. attorney from Delaware, that is blatantly illegal and in violation of the special counsel guiding statute. Very odd how no one's talking about that, which, by the way, to your point, Dan, the left has always been like, oh, it's David Weiss, it's a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney, therefore you know it's fair. They've been using this line for years. Well,
I know.
Turns out David Weiss slow walked this investigation. It took about 5 years. And as you mentioned, obviously, he totally ignored all the FARA stuff. He totally ignored the fact that Hunter Biden was pulling in 83 G's a month from Burisma, no doubt for his expertise in Eastern European oil and natural gas assets, while simultaneously trying to orchestrate meetings between the Ukrainians and Biden back when he was the point man for Ukraine. And he did so in a way where it makes it very hard to prosecute on FARA, even if Donald Trump retakes office, because you might run up against some statute of limitations issues. And to make matters worse, last summer, David Weiss, lest we forget, submitted this sweetheart plea deal before the judge, Mary Ellen Noriega, that, thank goodness, the judge actually looked at and decided to reject it. And, you know, as a former federal law clerk myself, I have to say good for the law clerks for actually encouraging her to reject that. Because if David Weiss had his way, Dan, we never even would have had the possibility of jail time, because that plea deal would have stopped trial and would have precluded the possibility of jail time. So David Weiss definitely on the company payroll, I guess you might say. Having said that, the slightly more nuanced part of my nuance here is that once the trial actually started, prosecutors did exactly what I would have wanted them to do, which is that they essentially threw all the books at Hunter Biden. They actually played the audiobook from his memoir that Hunter Biden narrated in his own voice, The Beautiful Things memoir in 2021, where he stupidly, because he's a very dumb and stupid man, literally admitted to the very crime that they subsequently took him at his word at and prosecuted him for. They introduced the laptop. Now, admittedly, they didn't actually go into the deep bowels of the laptop with the foreign stuff, but they actually did introduce the laptop. Funny how that works, by the way, how 2 years ago they were all still saying Russian disinformation on the laptop. Now the FBI is introducing it at trial as lead evidence without even any modicum of recognition as to how they pulled a 180 on us with no one even talking about it. So look, I'm happy with the results. He was dead to rights on the actual charges. And Dan, I think that we should take the W, but we're really going to know if the whole thing still stinks at sentencing. That's when we're actually going to know it. Does he go to jail or not? That's what matters.
And we don't even have a sentencing date yet. Like, Merchan came right out and was like, oh, 3 days before the RNC convention, we're going July 11th right away. Where's this judge going? Hunter will be sentenced on July da-da-da. We don't even know. I wonder how long they'll drag it out. I also found it humorous today that the alleged commander-in-chief, instead of saying something verbally, puts a statement out about his son, but then while he's speaking to a group of moms today on gun safety, he then includes his son's case. And so he's literally, once again, using the black sheep of the family, poor old Hunter, to try to get political gain with moms and talk about gun control. We all know what the laptop showed. Bo was the golden child, and unfortunately he passed to brain cancer. And if I hear him lie to people one more time about, I know how it is to get that phone call when my kid was, no. Your kid wasn't killed violently in war or in a school, gun violence. He died of brain cancer and you guys were by his side. But today, Joe literally took Hunter's case and used it to try to solidify votes with moms that have been affected by gun violence. He's using his own son's case to get votes. This man's disgusting. But what do we expect? He's used him to enrich the family for years.
Well, you know, the funniest part from my perspective, Dan, of the way that these past 2 weeks have proceeded. So the criminal defense lawyers here, Hunter's defense lawyers, basically had three strategies. One is they just simply tried to impeach the credibility of the government's witnesses, like that stripper that was half Hunter's age and saying that he was doing crack cocaine every 20 minutes. Didn't really work. That strategy failed. Second, they tried to introduce some ambiguity as to the actual timeline here, which basically amounted to them saying, Okay, so we'll concede that Hunter Biden was a crack cocaine addict in September of 2018, and then he was back on the wagon again in November. But no, take us at our word. In October, when he actually bought the gun, he was clean as a whistle. So that strategy failed as well. The third strategy, which is really, really funny for those of us who pay attention to politics closely, they basically made an NRA argument. They made a strong Second Amendment constitutional argument that 18 U.S. Code Section 922, as applied to Hunter Biden, or maybe even facially for the whole populace, is actually unconstitutional as an infringement of the Second Amendment, which is ludicrous for anyone who knows anything about Joe Biden's political career. One of his favorite issues going back to the 1970s is gun control and an anti-gun agenda. On the same day today, where Joe Biden is campaigning with Everytown, a major gun-grabbing organization. These people don't see, Dan, the fact that they are raging, ludicrous hypocrites. I guess it falls on folks like me and you to point it out to them.
Yes, that is our job. Speak truth to power and through the lies. And by the way, I was so upset at the beginning. Thank you, producers. I even misspoke the old phrase my grandma used to say, getting my dander up, which is pissing someone off. And today's trial, which again, complete show trial, has me upset because now the narrative from now till November, and I can already see it on social media, I've been watching, you will have some of those on the fence voters that thought there was lawfare, there is, that thought that Trump was being persecuted, he is, are going to go, well, but the president's son got found guilty, so maybe Trump is a liar. So it's going to work with some voters. Again, they got exactly what they wanted. That's why you and I and other independent journalists have to keep spitting the truth to this lying regime. Josh Hammer, check him out, Senior Counsel, Article 3 Project. Love everything you and Mike Davis are doing over there. Take care, guys.
Thanks, brother.
Yep.